Good morning and welcome to this edition of San Diego People. I'm Sandra Moss. The San Diego Humane Society receives more than 2,000 calls of suspected animal cruelty or neglect each year. This morning, we're going to talk with the San Diego agencies about the process and how you can help. Joining us this morning is Randy Lawrence, Director of Investigation Services for the Humane Society and the SPCA. Also, Harold Holmes, Deputy Director of the County Department of Animal Services, and Sandie Lampe, Pet Patrol, here on KUSI TV. And you can also read all her wonderful features in San Diego Home Garden Lifestyles magazine. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, and thank you for having us, Sandra.
Sure. We have three people talking about one very important subject that's very near and dear to pet lovers. And I think we should start off maybe by distinguishing the agencies.
Well, it's interesting. If you go to the Gaines location, the agencies that are located, you drive in, and on the right is the Humane Society, this beautiful building, the state-of-the-art building. But if you take a left and blink, here is Animal Control. They're on the same campus. So the question is, what is the difference of the agencies and what are their responsibilities? Because it's a little confusing to the average person, so help us out.
Sure. The differences are at the Humane Society and the SPCA, we actually have humane officers. So humane officers, we are strictly there to investigate animal abuse and neglect cases. We actually receive our powers out of the Corporations Code here in the state of California, and we're sworn state officers. But we don't do anything relating to the city code enforcements or the city laws pertaining to animal control, which Harold will talk about in a minute.
So you're kind of the second tier. Once
Yes.
you know that there's something wrong has gone down, that's where you get involved.
Well, to an extent, yes. But what's interesting about it in reality is all the investigative powers that we have and all my humane officers do is investigate animal abuse and neglect. But a case can be investigated by our agency, the San Diego Humane Society, SPCA, or animal control. It just depends on who the public calls. And the big message for today is we don't care whether you're calling the animal controls or us, the Humane Society. We want people to make those calls, though.
Right. Let's get an idea of the scope of the problem of animal abuse and cruelty in San Diego County. Harold, give us the lowdown on that.
Well, it runs the gamut from people that don't know how to properly care for their animals and provide that minimum level of care that the law says they should, to those that derive pleasure from inflicting pain on helpless animals. So we see a broad spectrum of activity ranging between those two extremes.
So we're talking about when people think of animal cruelty, we think of dogs and cats, but you're talking about livestock, horses, which we saw
Absolutely.
in the news this week, and rabbits. I mean, other animals that people keep in their homes.
We actually did a case here just a couple months ago where we seized 160 animals, but it was chickens, rabbits, goats, peacocks, and rats. It was over 160 animals.
And how do you get notified about this? What kind of tips come in? How do you find out that somebody, that your neighbor or someone you stumble upon is abusing an animal? Harold?
Well, it comes from a variety of sources. We have people that call Crime Stoppers, that report things anonymously. You can call either one of our agencies and report something that you see that just doesn't look quite right, and report it anonymously if you want. And we'll send an animal control officer out, or Randy can send a humane officer out to look into the situation and see whether or not the animal is being properly cared for. And as you said, it could be a horse, hoofstock, livestock, rabbits, birds, any animal that people keep and maintain.
Now, how do you identify animal abuse?
It's really, really difficult because unfortunately our victims can't talk.
Right.
And sometimes what I may feel is an approved training method, someone else might feel is abusive. One of my difficulties in this business is determining what's proper and what's not. The laws are somewhat subjective, and it's hard for people to understand where that line is sometimes between right and wrong.
But we do have felonies, and we do have misdemeanors, and we do have jail time, and we do have penalties, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
And so I think it's important for our viewers to know that, and hopefully we'll be able to enlighten them a little bit today about how we want people to think and the way they treat their animals in San Diego County. You know, we were picked number 2 or 3, the most dog-friendly city in the United States. We have thousands of pet owners that love their animals.
Restaurants let your dogs come inside. They'll have water
Absolutely.
bowls for them. We have so many dog beaches in San Diego County.
But we do have this segment. We do have this one thing that needs to be addressed, and it is animal abuse. And I think part of it is, well, maybe education. And, of course, San Diego Humane Society, Animal Control. We are very fortunate to have these 2 agencies in town.
I'm curious to find out how difficult it is. It's frustrating, I think, for people who report animal neglect or abuse that the wheels of justice sometimes move a little bit slowly. And that's because it really does take investigating. You see a puppy or a cat or a horse that is being starved or neglected or abused, and you want action taken right away. You don't want that animal suffering.
Well, obviously, there are due process laws out there. So when we deal with animals, and if we feel an animal is being neglected, and if you call us, we're going to go out and check that animal. But at the same token, if they seem to be a person that is truly caring for the animal, we may mandate vet care. And depending on the condition of the animal, we may say you have to take this animal to a vet within 48 hours, 72 hours. It depends on the condition of the animal. Then we follow up on it. And then once we follow up on that, if they actually took it to a vet and we know they are actually treating the animal, if the person that called and complained, they may not realize that in reality the animal is being treated for the illness or injury, but it takes time to heal. Mm-hmm. So we do try to educate not just the person we're dealing with, but also the public in general about, like what Harold was saying. There really is a gray area there as to what is a proper care and not, and our officers go out and make that decision on a regular basis.
Right.
And sometimes the owner of the pet just doesn't know.
Oh, no.
They don't know, such as the case you had with tethering recently,
Yes.
right? You want to talk about that for a second? It's interesting.
The issue of tethering is when you tether a dog to a fixed object for extended periods of time, you take away one of the 2 options that the dog has when it's startled or stressed, and that is fight or flight. If the dog can't run away, if it can't escape the situation, it's more likely to act aggressively. So tethering builds aggression. The laws that we're dealing with, though, don't allow for us to see a dog tied up and immediately impound it. We're always balancing the property rights of an animal owner with the animal rights to make sure that it's protected, and the public safety concerns as well.
Well, there are many issues that we're going to tackle. Before we go to break, I do want to put the phone number up. There is an animal hotline, and we're going to talk about how to report animal abuse and the anonymity that is involved with making that report. We're also going to talk about some cases of animal abuse and some good outcomes that have happened as a result of your investigations.
Sandra, it's so important for people to know that they can phone on this. They can phone into this hotline, the number we're putting up, with total anonymity, and not be concerned that they're going to have a conflict with their neighbor or there's a friend, but they in fact are saving a life. They really are saving a life. And so I want people to know that. I want people to know that they feel free to call that number if they think there's animal abuse going on. So.
All right, well, as we continue, we're going to talk about some cases of animal abuse, some happy endings. We also have some dogs that need adoption. We're going to be showing a little bit later. Remember the story of that puppy that fell 80 feet from a cliff in Ocean Beach? We're going to update you on his amazing progress as San Diego People continues.
Secondhand smoke affects everyone's health. It's not just irritating. It can cause heart disease and even death. Speak up about secondhand smoke. Your health and the health of your family depend on it.
It's not the Strip. It's not Las Vegas. It's not even Nevada. It's the Lobster Buffet at Valley View Casino and Hotel with hundreds of delicious choices, unlimited lobster nightly, endless desserts, and your first buffet's free when you join the Players Club. Plus, with your Players Club card, you'll enjoy generous rewards like free slot play, concerts, hotel suites, free dining, and more. It's classic Las Vegas style, and it's only at Valley View Casino and Hotel, San Diego's favorite.
From market trends to economic news to financial secrets you need to know.
Another company coming under fire. Green arrows across the board right now.
Watch the Bloomberg Financial Report only on Good Morning San Diego. Weekdays. Sponsored by Bank of the West.
San Diego. Why rent? For just $99 at the Men's Fashion Depot, you can proudly wear your own elegant designer tuxedo for less than the price of a rental. Perfect for proms, graduations, cruises, weddings, or just a big night out on the town. Enjoy the prestige of wearing your own. Don't pay $2.95 elsewhere. For $99, it's yours. Add a shirt for $19 and a bow tie cummerbund set for only $14. Hurry in today and see why we say
price, value, selection. Nobody even comes close. Nobody.
Welcome back to San Diego, people. On January 14th, a Chihuahua puppy fell 80 feet off a cliff in Ocean Beach and lived to tell the story. Here's Michael Russo with the story of Clifford the puppy.
Clifford has a new home. The 4-month-old puppy that survived a fall off Sunset Cliffs has been adopted. The Chihuahua mix fell about 100 feet and was nursed back to health at the county animal shelter on Gain Street. The man who adopted him is a Marine who believes in the power of animals helping people heal.
70 people put in applications to adopt Clifford. For some reason, John sent a story behind his application, and that story really struck at the chords of, helping other animals and helping other people. John's been through some tragedy in his life. Clifford's been through some tragedy. He wanted to partner up with Clifford and go back to other wounded veterans and say, I made it, this little puppy made it, you can make it too.
I work a lot transitioning wounded, ill, and injured Marines and corpsmen from active duty to veteran status. And being a combat wounded veteran myself, it's good to have that, that icebreaker. And I think the way ahead for Clifford is he's going to become a therapy dog, and he's going to do a lot of work with me in the local VAs and vet centers here in San Diego and Southern California as we try to help these Marines and corpsmen in their transition in life.
Money from the Spirit Fund was used to cover the cost of veterinary care.
Well, that is one lucky dog. And joining us once again, Randy Lawrence, Director of Investigations for the Humane Society, Harold Holmes with the County Animal Services, and Sandie Lampe once again. And not all cases end in such a positive way as this lucky Chihuahua, right?
That's correct. We actually currently have a couple of cases that we're still working on that I wanted to bring out. One was a little mini pincher, we call them mini pins, that was actually abandoned in a parking garage in Oceanside all the way back in September of last year. A good Sam found the dog and called us, and we picked the dog up, and the dog had actually been abused, and unfortunately he had to have a leg amputated. But that dog actually has gone on now and been adopted, so it's a happy story for the dog. But on the flip side of things, we're still looking for the person that did this, so we're still looking for the public's help. And so anyone that has any information about this mini pincher that was abandoned there in Oceanside back in September.
And where was it abandoned, just to anyone listening?
It was on El Camino Real in a parking structure right off the 78 freeway.
Okay.
And we're still looking for the owner. We're still trying to determine what happened to that animal.
Okay.
And that's one case. Another case is actually a case that all the way back in October of last year, an incident involving a little kitten where a perpetrator was actually swinging the cat up against a tree. And a good Samaritan actually saw this, though, and actually videotaped the guy walking away with the cat and actually got his license plate and everything. So based on that information, we did an investigation, and we believe we identified who did it. And we obtained an arrest warrant for that individual. But to this date, he is still not come forward, and we still have no idea where he is at. The apartment where he was living in Oceanside actually was abandoned when we got there the day it happened, and to this day there's still an arrest warrant out.
Do you have his name? We can give his name?
Of course. His name is Alan Ball, and at the time he was actually driving a Ford station wagon, and it was a light gray in color, and it's actually, I'm looking for the license plate number.
So if you know Alan Ball.
Alan Ball is the one we're looking for.
All right. You wonder what kind of people do these outrageous, hideous things to pets. And I know you've worked in the Humane Society for 11 years now. You've probably seen it all, seen too much.
Way too much. What
is the profile? What kind of people do this sort of thing? And are they guilty of other crimes often as well?
Well, very often they are. There's a link that we have found between violence towards animals and violence towards people. if you're a violent person, you're going to be a violent person towards people as well as animals. And I'm sure that you've heard that every serial killer started out torturing animals. Not everybody who tortures an animal is going to be a serial killer, but obviously that's a very dangerous sign in someone if they're abusing, torturing animals, and
It's
they're
that
very
one common denominator.
exactly, and they're very often also abusing other people, or they may be the victim of abuse themselves.
Right. And so education, that's where education comes in, right, Sandie?
Absolutely, and we're going to be talking about that. That's where we need to go. We need to go in the homes, we need to go to parents, we need to go to the children. Start young. Start young. And how do you behave with your pets? These wonderful animals that come into our home and love us unconditionally, and what do they need? They need food, they need shelter, they need love, and they need to feel safe.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking about abuse in the home, but what about at pet stores, that sort of thing? Do you do investigations at other places too?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
We actually do investigation. We are, by law, allowed to do inspections at pet stores. Recently, we had a case where we end up with a search warrant for 3 pet stores, including the owner's residence, and we subsequently seized 117 animals from those 4 locations.
What happens to them?
Well, you know, it's a good story on one end, because all those animals ultimately they came into our possession. We were able to have a huge adoption event, and all of those animals ultimately ended up in loving homes. And on the flip side, the individual that owned those pet stores was prosecuted, he was convicted, and those 3 pet stores are no longer in existence here in
And
San
what was the
Diego.
penalty for him?
He actually received a probation, no pet ownership at all. And then also he received a heavy fine and restitution to the Humane Society for caring for all those animals.
And that's a good point, Sandie. Let's talk a little bit about the penalties and the jail time and the huge fines that some of these pet abusers get. Could you enlighten us about that?
We've got a case where an animal abuser who brutally beat his girlfriend's 3 dogs to death received state prison time. And it's the only case that we know of in our area where someone has. He received 5 years in state prison as a result of that. We've also, and that was the first case that we've ever seen where DNA was used in solving the case. So
And
all
that
of,
was through a, what is it called,
Oh, the necropsy?
The necropsy, yeah,
yes.
exactly.
An autopsy on a pet.
An
Correct.
autopsy on a
Yes.
pet.
because the state of investigations for both of our agencies is increasing, and we're using all of the latest technology available that any other law enforcement agency would use to conduct professional investigations to figure out who's doing these things.
All right, let's put that number
CSI
up.
for pets.
CSI for pets. It's good that they have such advocates. And there's the number again, 619-296-2341. Is that what I'm reading? 236-2341. And Sandie, once again, let people know that this is completely anonymous. If you call and you know that there is a pet being abused, an animal.
They are, and they're concerned about getting involved, right? Or perhaps they feel that they're incorrect in their overview of what's happening with that animal. But the bottom line is they need to make the call. They need to make the call because that's how we take care of our animals in this community. We have a wonderful community, and I think it's just important for people to know they're going to be safe, they can make that call, and they're actually helping a life.
All right, well, still ahead as we continue on today's San Diego People, how you can help right now in the fight to end animal cruelty. We also have a pet or 2 up for adoption that we'll show you coming up.
At Wiener Schnitzel, we've been giving families great food and great deals since 1961. 52 years later, we're still at it. Now our delicious family combos are only $9.99. Wiener Schnitzel, they're fun since '61.
Come play your part at Legoland California Resort, where you can see the new Lego Star Wars X-Wing model display for a limited time. It's the world's biggest Lego model. Legoland is where you can drive cars, conquer dragons, fight fires, splash and play at the Legoland Water Park, stay and play at the Legoland Hotel. Get a coupon for a free child ticket with paid adult ticket when you purchase a medium or large combo meal at Wendy's.
Mark Larson is on the radio mornings. MarkLarson.com and on AM 1170.
Hey San Diego, join me, Tracy Sellers, as I go on a food journey through California. Every week on California Bountiful, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on KUSI.
Oh, sorry, this is only for the Time Warner cable team.
What's this about faster internet?
With our fiber-rich network, you can get speeds up to 50 megs.
You know Time Warner Cable is the winning team.
We know that.
You got one TWC.
Internet, TV, and phones starting at only $89.99.
Call 1-855-1-TWC.
1-855-1-TWC.
Shouldn't be saying this, but if you call now, you get a $200 reward card.
Thank you.
Switch to a better entertainment experience. Guaranteed. Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better.
At Wiener Schnitzel, we've been giving families great food and great deals since 1961. 52 years later, we're still at it. Now our delicious family combos are only $9.99. Wiener Schnitzel, they're fun since '61.
Welcome back to San Diego People. This morning, we're talking about how you can help end animal cruelty. And Sandie, the first step, I guess, is to suspect that something bad is going on.
Absolutely, and to make that call, hit that tip line or that number that we have put.
And we're going to put on right now again.
Absolutely. So we grew up with Hollywood movies, and what do we want? We want a happy ending.
Yes, we do.
We do, and right here we have a happy ending. This is Jack, and Brandy's going to tell us about Jack's story. So,
Jack actually came to the Humane Society. Officer seized him, and just over a month ago when we found Jack, he was being neglected from the standpoint he had mange so severely that he didn't have any hair at all. But you can see the improvement now and how great he's doing now. He's a great, loving dog. He's currently in foster, and he's waiting his medical clearance so he can be adopted.
Now, he was at the pet store, is that it?
No,
he wasn't.
No, this was at a private home.
At a private home, and he was burned.
No, not burned. He had mange.
Mange. What's that?
What is mange?
Mange is just a disease of the skin, so he basically had no hair at all. And you can still see redness on him and his chest and stuff.
So he was being neglected.
Yes. And by law, you have to, an animal has to be treated at the pet store or by a vet. You know.
So he's in foster care right now, and he will be up for adoption very soon.
Very soon.
And for people interested in him, who would they call?
Well, actually, now we don't take people on waiting lists for animals, so they just need to check our website for when Jack is going to be available. But the best thing to do is go to our website and look for you can look for any kind of animal you can think of.
And
there
he's
at the
a
website.
Chihuahua?
Yeah, Chihuahua mix.
He's a big Chihuahua.
Yeah, he's a Chihuahua
How old
mix.
did you say he was?
He's still just a puppy.
Okay.
So he's only just about a year old.
Okay. So what kind of family would be the right family for Jack?
Jack, you know what? He actually is in foster right now, and he actually is with other big dogs. So he does great with other dogs, and he also is very active. So a family with children and things like that would also be good for him.
Okay. And so typically, some of these animals that have been abused or neglected, do they need a special type of family, or are they resilient? Do they bounce back?
They do bounce back, and then obviously we actually do behavior assessments on all the animals at the Humane Society, so we have a good understanding for what kind of a family would be good for different animals, whether they get along with other dogs and things like that.
Okay, very good. And we have a couple other dogs that we want to show, too. Okay, good luck to you. Thanks, Chief Lawrence. Sandie Lampe, love your article in San Diego Home Garden Magazine. And here we go. We have Sergeant D. Peterson and also Daryl Hansen. Thank you for being here. All right, so tell us this little dog story.
Okay, so this is Penny, and she's about 4 years old. She is a Papillon mix, and she came to the San Diego Humane Society. She was an owner relinquishment. The family that she had prior, they moved, and they weren't able to take her with them.
That's probably pretty common, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. Not only do we get animals, from cruelty neglect cases or the running at larges, we also get those. We also get owner relinquishments. Sometimes, hard times, and you just can't.
She's a beautiful, calm dog. How old is she?
So she's about 4 years old. Her previous owners let us know that she loves to chase bugs. She can be a little shy, but she warms up after a little while. And yeah, she's a really sweet girl. She's been really good here. And
does she get along with other?
She does.
Pets?
She does get along with other animals. So if anybody's looking, this would be a really good pet. She's a really good size too.
She's beautiful. So this is Penny.
Yeah, this is Penny, and she's a Papillon mix, about 4 years old.
Just a beautiful dog. All right, and who is our next little dog?
This is Tia.
Tia.
She's a 5-year-old female Chihuahua, and on May 11th, she was attacked by another dog and seriously injured. Whoever owned her didn't keep her on their property. And
I can still see her wounds on her little.
Yeah, an officer went out and picked her up, took her back to the Department of Animal Services where she received medical treatment. She's made a full recovery, and she's available for adoption. She's very mellow for a Chihuahua. She's not a puppy, so she's 5 years old. So she's not maybe quite as rambunctious as a puppy would be.
Let me ask you this. When an animal has been attacked by another animal, that kind of, it ruins their psyche, I would imagine, probably for the rest of their life, right? Would he not be good in another home with a pet?
Not necessarily. Like Randy said, a lot of these dogs will bounce back. They're very resilient, so it depends on the dog. She's been getting along great with the other dogs here in the studio today. I haven't seen that she's fearful of any of the other dogs, no growling or anything. So it depends on the dog, but you know, she would be a good home with other small dogs, maybe an older person. But
and how old is she again?
She's about 5 years old.
About 5 years old.
And her name is Tia.
And her name is Tia. And so give us an idea of the website. It's the San Diego Humane Society's website. And we'll put that up for you, but it's what? Do you know the website address?
I believe it's sdhumanesociety.org.
Okay, okay. And so you're really good about changing out the faces of the pets, and they come up pretty quickly.
Yeah, anytime a dog is picked up by an officer in the field or turned in at the shelter by a member of the public, the dog's photograph is taken and it's put up on the website pretty much instantaneously.
Right, and you don't only have dogs, you have cats as well, obviously.
Cats, horses, rabbits, goats, all kinds of animals.
And how long are you a no-kill shelter? How does that work?
We don't euthanize any adoptable pets.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and typically how long are the pets at the shelter before they're adopted?
You know, they can be there anywhere from a couple days. Sometimes we have some long-term animals that stay a little bit longer.
Right.
So sometimes just kind of waiting to find that perfect family to go ahead and go home to.
And you really vet out the people who come to the shelter to adopt the animals, don't you?
Yeah, they have to fill out an adoption application. So we make sure that they're matched with the right pet.
Right.
They have an interaction with the animals, and if they have pets that are already in the home, they can bring their pets from home, have those pets interact with the dog they're going to adopt to make sure that they get along. And
right.
It is, you just cannot show up and just adopt an animal.
And what is the fee to adopt an animal?
It varies depending on, it's anywhere from $50, $60 approximately.
And they're all spayed, they're all neutered, they all have their shots.
Microchipped, licensed, all their vaccinations, been checked out by a vet, microchip, everything.
The whole thing. And Sandie, I know you...
I wanted to also say that at San Diego Humane Society Animal Control, they have a full-on medical service right there. They have a surgery room, they have doctors. So when these animals come in and they've been abused, they're right on it. And if the dog can be saved, they're there, they're operating on them, they're rehabilitating them, they're grooming them, and they're getting them ready for, let's hope, a new home that they so richly deserve.
And you know, it takes special people to really care for animals because, Harold, they can't talk back to you.
No, they can't. And I really admire our officers, but especially our animal care staff, our medical staff. Once we in the field bring the animals in for care and treatment and rehabilitation, they're the ones that deal with them every single day.
Well, it's wonderful to know that we have such a great group and organizations working to protect animals in San Diego County. And one more time, if you know of any animal that is being abused, please call the number on your screen. And if you're interested in adopting one of these wonderful dogs or hundreds of other dogs and cats at any of the shelters in San Diego County, give the Humane Society a call because they are looking for a loving home. And animal control. Yes, animal control. And I thank you all for being here and sharing. It's such an important subject. And thank you very much for your time. And thank you for tuning in to this morning's San Diego People. Be sure and join us tonight for the KUSI News at 6 and 10 and 11.